What is up, everyone? Welcome back to another video, or to the video. I'm gonna get straight into it. I'm gonna be doing a yap session on the UFC lightweight division and what a conundrum it is in right now. I think that was a good vocab word. I think that was the right word to describe what is happening at lightweight. I'm just gonna take a minute to catch up all of you who don't really know what's happening. Basically, no one knows who is going to fight Islam Makhachev. No one knows who deserves it the most. No one knows what is happening, basically. You have a bunch of contenders that I have posted here who potentially could get a title shot, who potentially deserve a title shot, or some you think don't deserve one. Let's talk about it first. Tapora. As you know, he vacated his belt at 145. Volkanovski is a new champion after beating Diego Lopez. Tapora right now is demanding a title shot. He even said he wouldn't even fight Charles Olivera for #1 contender. He claimed that the UFC promised him a title shot against Islam Makhachev. Charles Olivera just came off of beating Michael Chandler at UFC 309, saying he wants a title shot too. And before that, he did lose to Arman Tsarukyan, who we're going to talk about in a second, which I'll talk about right now. Arman Tsarukyan beat Charles Olivera for the #1 contender fight at UFC 300 in a very close, competitive fight. Beat Charles Olivera, became the #1 contender, was booked to fight Islam Makhachev for UFC 311, and pulled out the day before the fight, the hours before the weigh-in, due to an injury. So Islam had to fight Renato Moicano instead, who I might mention later in this video. Dustin Porier just came off of fighting Islam Makhachev and losing in the 5th round to Darce Choke. He's not going to get a title shot, and he really only has one fight left, or that's what he says. He's going to have one more fight in Louisiana, wherever, that little swamp place. And then he's going to dip out of the sport, and he's most likely going to fight Max Holloway. Max Holloway just came off of losing to Tapora at 145. But before that, at UFC 300, he battered Justin Gage for five rounds and knocked him out in the 5th. So he might be in this conversation if he wins a couple fights. Pimble, or actually I'll talk about him last. Justin Gage just came off of losing to Max Holloway, and then he goes out there, was originally booked to fight Dan Hooker at UFC 313, and then Dan Hooker had to pull out due to injury, so he fought a rematch against Rafael Fiziev and beat Rafael Fiziev pretty convincingly, and he wants maybe a title shot, but I doubt that's going to happen. Dan Hooker came off of beating Matthias Gamrot, yes, at UFC 304. Still cannot believe that happened. Gamrot's a bomb. I don't even have him in this video for that reason. Now, Pimble, rising contender, just battered Michael Chandler in a way that really no one else in Michael Chandler's career has ever battered Michael Chandler like that. And I believe Pimble is a big part. He's just a big part of this. And I believe he really is a bigger threat to Islam than a lot of these guys. I really do believe that. Now let's talk about our first matchup that I think should happen. Basically in this video, I'm just going to be trying my best to try to match these guys up. And the UFC should really listen to me. I know exactly what I'm talking about. You know, I definitely do know what I'm talking about, for sure. Let's get to our first matchup, and that would be Dan Hooker versus Renato Moicano. Renato Moicano just came off of losing to Islam Makhachev, but he was scheduled to fight Beneil Dariush, and he was on a roll before the Islam fight. I think this is a good fight for both of them, because Dan Hooker, coming off of injury after pulling out to Justin Gaethje, the UFC probably won't be that nice to him, and also Renato Moicano, he jumped the line really quickly into something that he wasn't ready for, to fighting Islam Makhachev, and he lost, obviously, because Islam's the best of all time. I think these guys are perfect for each other, and it lines up in their career paths right now, and it's both a good win for either of them. Hanato Moicano, if he beats the number sixth ranked Dan Hooker, that would be a great win and puts him back, and puts him into maybe a title elimination fight or a big top 5 fight, whatever. Dan Hooker, coming off of beating Matthias Gamrot, before that Jalen Turner, before that someone else, and before that someone else. He went on a roll, and then he had the big fight at UFC 304, beating Matthias Gamrot and put him right into a number one contender fight, or you put him into that top 5 picture again. Not again, but put him into that top 5 picture. It's kind of a changed guy. This is just a perfect fight to make, to get out of the way, and very good fight and fun fight too. Stylistically, we got the grappler in Hanato Moicano, and we got the the marauder in Dan Hooker, and the boxer in Dan Hooker. Make this fight happen right now. I feel like these guys have fought before. They seem like they've fought before, but I don't believe they have. But whatever. Make this fight happen. I hope my camera's in the right place and it's not blocking any of. But whatever. I think this one's pretty obvious, and I don't think there's really much explaining. Dustin Poirier versus Max Holloway. I believe it's already been leaked. I think Dustin Poirier has been hinting to it. This will probably be announced pretty soon. Maybe UFC 318, I think 319 in Louisiana, or a fight night in Louisiana. I forgot which one they're gonna do, fight night or pay-per-view, whatever. I think this is the next fight they're gonna make. I know they fought 2 times before, but that was when Max Holloway was at 145, and then he had to step in to fight Porier. I think it was for an interim belt or whatever. They fought a couple of times. Their first fight actually was their debuts. I think it might have been both of their debuts, when Dustin Poirier was like 22, Max Holloway was 20. Dustin Poirier beat Max Holloway then. Then he beat Max Holloway years later in a short notice fight. But it's different now since Max Holloway battered Justin Gage in at 155 at UFC 300, and a lot of people are saying the fight's way different and way more competitive now, and a lot of people would lean to Max Holloway to win. And Dustin Poirier says he wants a legend for his last fight. This is the perfect fight to make. Big fun fight for the fans, and it's going to be a banger, and I think it's just heading this way, that this is going to be the matchup. So let's move on from this. This one was tough for me, but I think Paddy Pimble versus Justin Gage is the perfect fight. And I'm going to be honest, I think Paddy Pimble would batter Justin Gage just like he did to Michael Chandler. I believe winner of this gets a title shot, whatever you want. Number one contender fight. There's a couple number one contender fights here. Perfect. Paddy Pimble looked so good against Michael Chandler. He looked great in the striking. He's humongous also. He's really a 170er. I don't know how he's the biggest lightweight there is right now besides Islam. No, he's probably bigger than Islam right now. I think Islam actually got smaller in this last year. He did get smaller a little bit, it seemed. Paddy Pimble is the biggest lightweight there is right now. And it's perfect. Him coming off of that huge fight with Michael Chandler. And then Justin Gage doesn't deserve a title shot yet, obviously. Because he's only coming off of 1 win. Put him against the rising contender, the rising star in Paddy Pimble. This would be a huge fight, co-main event of a pay-per-view, maybe main event of a fight night, whatever you want. This is the perfect fight to make, and I like it a lot. Now, here's where it gets a little complicated. Guys, I think it should be Ilia Tapora versus Charles Olivera for the true number one contender matchup. Now, the reason a lot of people and a lot of retards want Ilia Tapora versus Islam Makhachev because they think it'll be the biggest fight ever. That is wrong. There's a sad reality to Ilia Tapora versus Islam Makhachev. If you were to make that fight right now, first of all, a lot of people are saying, Ilia Topuria doesn't deserve a title shot against Islam Makhachev. I think in this situation, he probably does. Now, here's the thing with that fight. It is not a big fight right now. And the reason being is because no one knows, outside of fighting, no one knows who Ilia Topuria is or Islam Makhachev. There's a difference to star power, and the Ilia Topuria is not Conor McGregor. He does not have that star power of Conor McGregor. No one knows who he is outside of the UFC, outside of MMA. And that's why I think they should not waste the Ilia Topuria versus Islam Makhachev fight right now and try to get a big pay-per-view. It would still be a huge pay-per-view in recent history. But if you want that, this pay-per-view to break records, and if you want it to be one of the biggest pay-per-views you've ever done in the organization, have Ilia Topuria fight Charles Oliveira for the number one contenders fight at 155. And it is the perfect fight for both of these guys. If Ilia Topuria goes out there, knocks Charles Oliveira out cold, which I very well believe he could, and then goes out and calls Islam out on the mic, stands over Charles Oliveira, does that, that will make the Islam fight 5 times bigger, and definitely gain him a lot more fans, and just make the fight overall bigger. Then you make the Islam versus Topuria fight. If Charles Oliveira goes out there, shoots on Ilia Topuria and submits him, which I very well believe he can, and that's something a lot of people aren't ready to talk about, is what's Ilia's true grappling test. Has Ilia had a true grappling test? No, he hasn't. That Bryce Mitchell was a good test. But, now we look back on that Bryce Mitchell fight, and it's like, well, Gene Silva didn't get taken down by Bryce Mitchell. But you did Topuria, And also, another reason why I don't want Topuria fighting Makhachev yet. If Topuria doesn't have a number one contender fight at 155, and he just goes straight in there to fight Makhachev, which I think he deserves to do. Beating Volk, first of all, battering Josh Emmett, then then knocking out Volk and knocking out Max Holloway at 145, you deserve to go up and fight Islam. But if Islam were to go out there and beat Topuria in one, were to shoot on him, take him down, and beat the shit out of him, which I think he could do, people would discredit that win a lot and just say it was another 145er, or say that Ilia didn't prove himself at 155, or say Ilia never fought a grappler before and he never proved himself to be some sort of grappler. So I think making the number one contender fight of Ilia Topuria versus Charles Oliveira is the perfect move that the UFC needs to do. First of all, this fight is humongous itself. If you put this on a co-main event of UFC 317, which I'm starting to doubt they'll do. Now, first of all, UFC 317, I don't know what's happening with that. It should be getting announced in, because that fight's in, how many weeks? 8 weeks or something? It's pretty damn close. Couple months, that fight? It should be getting announced very soon. So I think it'll probably get announced on the fight night of Carlos Prates versus Ian Gary, which, by the way, I got Ian Gary in that fight. Besides the point, I think there's going to be a lightweight belt on that card. I don't know what it's going to be. Apparently, it got leaked that Ilia Topuria versus Charles Oliveira on the Spanish broadcast leaked that fight for UFC 317. But you never know. It could have been misinterpreted. I don't know. But I think this is the best fight to make. I'm going to stop glazing this fight. Guys, come on, this is the fight to make, and it would make the Islam fight much bigger. It would make the Islam versus Charles fight much bigger if he would have beat Tapora, and vice versa. I know what you're going to say. This fight is not going to happen, which it isn't. But this is the only way to fix the division. But is it the only way to fix the division? Because When does Islam Makhachev want to fight? Does he want to fight in July? Like, does he want to fight in July? If he wants to fight in July, you rebook that Armin Sarukian and Islam fight right now. Now, I know Dana White's not going to do that because he's a retard. He doesn't really care about promoting the sport. He really sucks at doing his job right now. I know. But if Islam isn't going to sit out till October, what is it? January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, December. October's a long time away. And that'll probably be the next time Islam fights if he doesn't fight in July International Fight Week or some shit like that, or August, June, July, August, July or August. So if he's gonna fight in July or August, he needs to fight Armin Sarukian because he's probably the most deserving. I mean, he beat Charles Oliveira for the number one contender. He's been the number one contender, and his name has been sitting at number one since UFC 300. They were booked to fight, and I know Armin pulled out a day before, which is terrible. He really shouldn't have done that. And I know Dana White's punishing him for it by almost making a Michael Chandler matchup with him by just almost do. But if you want to fix the division, you should do this in the meantime of say Charles Oliveira versus Tapori and Patty versus Gage. You know, or you could honestly just do Charles versus Islam, which I don't like because it just makes the Charles fight look bad if Islam just goes out there and does the same thing after Charles is only coming off of one win. Guys, that was my yap session of a video. Terrible video. If you're still here, thank you for watching. Make sure to like, subscribe, and comment. Yeah, like and subscribe. It helps a lot. Peace out.